Jai Vishnu Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki.
Kara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Girida Juki Jai. Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyata Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parejana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivashakam Vitam Cha Om Ajnana Timaranda Shagyana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Gurva Bhishtam Supurakam Garaganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasthaveda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govinda Abhidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Mande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Bharanam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadika Varanam Vairagya Vidyam Buddhim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bande Tam Shubharam Madeka Sharanam Nyasishvara Shridaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patita Nam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Nama. So we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Bhagawat by Srila Vrindaban Das Thakur. With translation by Sarva Bhavana Prabhu. This is Adi-khanda chapter 5. The Brahmin feeds Nimai. All glories to the Supreme Personality, Sri Vishwambar, Lord Chaitanya. He is the Supreme Lord of all lords, and his feet are decorated by the marks of a flag, lightning, and elephant goad. The Supreme Lord performed various transcendental pastimes while residing in the house of Jagannath Mishra. One day, Sri Jagannath Mishra called his dear son Vishwambar and told him, "Bring my book." Nimai hastened to the house when he heard his father's call, and as he moved his feet, jingled loudly with sound of the ankle bells. Sri Jagannath Mishra inquired, "Where is the tinkling of ankle bells coming from?" Both he and his wife, Srimati Sachi Devi, searched all around. "My son does not wear ankle bells on his feet, so from where does this sweet sound of ankle bells come? How extraordinary is this?" The father and mother considered the incident, but remained speechless with surprise. After bringing the book, the Lord ran off to play. The parents saw another wonder when they entered their house. All over the house they saw wonderful footprints with different symbols, such as the flag, lightning bolt, goad, and festoons. Both were thrilled with great delight, and their eyes brimmed with tears as they examined the footprints. They offered obeisances to the lotus footprints and said, we shall surely be liberated, no more births." Sri Jagannath Mishra requested his wife, "Please listen. O mother of Vishwarup, cook a nice sweet rice preparation with ghee. In the morning I shall bathe our house deity, Sri Damodar Shalagram Shila. In the morning I shall bathe our house deity, Sri Damodar Shalagram Shila, with Panchagavya, the 5 substances from the cow: milk, yogurt, ghee, cow urine, and cow dung. I believe that the sound of ankle bells actually came from the feet of our Shalagram Shila deity as he secretly moved around the house. Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata felt great happiness as they worshipped the Shalagram Shila, and Lord Chaitanya smiled within. Now please hear another wonderful pastime of Lord Chaitanya, the son of Sri Jagannath Mishra. A very pious Brahmin was visiting different places of pilgrimage to satisfy the Supreme Lord Krishna. He worshipped Lord Krishna by chanting the Gopal mantra consisting of 6 syllables, and he would not eat anything other than the remnants of food he had offered to Sri Gopal. After visiting many pilgrimage sites, the fortunate Brahmin actually came to the house of Lord Chaitanya. As a person of incomparable purity, he was enveloped in great spiritual effulgence. He carried a deity of Bal Gopal and a Shalagram Shila around his neck as his most wonderful possessions. With half-closed eyes, the Brahmin would constantly chant the name of Krishna, and deep in his heart, he tasted the nectar of love of Govinda. Seeing this radiant personality, Jagannath Mishra stood up out of respect and then offered his obeisances. The most respectable Sri Jagannath Mishra did everything to properly look after his esteemed guest. He personally washed his guest's feet and offered him a fine elevated seat. Once the Brahmin was seated comfortably, Sri Jagannath Mishra inquired, "Where is your place of residence?" The Brahmin replied, "I am disinterested in worldly affairs, so I travel throughout the different lands. I roam because of my restless mind." Sri Jagannath Mishra said respectfully, "It is the good fortune of the world that you travel everywhere. I especially feel most fortunate today, so please permit me to prepare for your cooking." The Brahmin replied, "Dear Mishra, do as you please." Happily, Sri Mishra made extraordinary and wonderful arrangements. Sri Mishra had the kitchen thoroughly cleansed and then arranged for all the cooking ingredients to be brought. The Brahmin cooked to his full satisfaction and sat down to offer all the preparations to Sri Krishna. Sri Sachinandana Chaitanya is the supersoul within everyone's heart. He had decided to show himself to the Brahmin. The Brahmin had just begun his meditation when the Supreme Lord Sri Gaurasundar appeared in his presence. He stood there naked, his entire form covered with dust. He was the color of the sun, with beautiful hands and feet. Smiling, he took a handful of food from the Brahmin's offering and ate it while the Brahmin looked on. Although favored by good fortune, the Brahmin called out, "Alas, alas! This restless boy has stolen the food meant for offering." When Sri Jagannath Mishra came, he saw that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Gaurasundar, was happily smiling and eating the rice offering. Intending to beat the Lord, an angry Mishra chased after him. But the Brahmin stood up fearfully and caught hold of Mishra's hand. The Brahmin said, "My dear Mishra, you are a respectable and knowledgeable person, but what knowledge does this little boy have? What will beating him accomplish? It is one thing to beat a person who can reason right from wrong, but I forbid you to beat this boy." Feeling miserable, Sri Mishra sat down holding his head. He did not speak a word, nor did he lift his head. "Do not feel sad, dear Mishra," said the Brahmin. "The Supreme Lord certainly knows everything that happens at all times. Please bring whatever fruits or vegetables you have in the house. I shall simply eat that today." Sri Mishra said, "If you kindly consider me your servant, then let me arrange for you to cook again. I shall only be satisfied when you cook once again. I have all the necessary ingredients for cooking in the house." The other friends and relatives in the house also implored the Brahmin to cook again. "Since you all desire it," agreed the Brahmin, "I shall cook every preparation again." Everyone was satisfied that he had agreed, and they again cleansed the cooking place for him. They quickly gathered the cooking ingredients, and the Brahmin began to cook. However, some people warned the Brahmin that the restless child might spoil the offering again. "Take the child to another house and keep him there until the Brahmin has completed his cooking and eating," they told Sachimata. Therefore, Sachimata carried her child to a neighbor's house. The young ladies all teased, "Hey, Nimai, is this the way you should act, stealing the Brahmin's food?" With a smile on his exquisite moon-like face, Lord Chaitanya replied, "What is my fault? The Brahmin called me." Then they objected, "Oh, Nimai, will you do more mischief now that you have lost your caste? Who knows this Brahmin? From where does he come? And who are his family? How can you maintain your caste after having eaten food cooked by him? Smiling, Lord Chaitanya replied, I belong to the cow tender's caste. I accept food prepared by Brahmins all the time. How does a cow tender lose his caste by eating a Brahmin's food? Saying this, the Lord looked at everyone with a smile. The Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya used this trick to explain to them the truth about himself, but his illusory potency is so perfect that no one could understand him. As they carried him about, the various residents of the neighboring houses enjoyed the child's arguments. The Lord went joyfully from arm to arm, and whoever held him floated in an ocean of bliss. In the meantime, the Brahmin cooked once again and sat down to make an offering to Lord Bal-Gopal. While offering, the Brahmin thought of Lord Bal-Gopal, but Lord Gaurachandra, the Super Soul, knew everything. Lord Chaitanya charmed everyone and then left their presence completely unnoticed. Smiling all the while, he went to the spot where the Brahmin was offering the food. Stealthily, Lord Chaitanya put a handful of rice into his mouth and left. The Brahmin, caught by surprise, looked on in disbelief. The Brahmin raised a loud alarm. Alas, alas! The child ate his rice and sprinted on. The Brahmin raised a loud alarm. Alas, alas! The child ate his rice and sprinted off. Sri Mishra angrily grabbed a stick and chased after young Nimai. Lord Nimai fled in dread and hid himself in a room, but Sri Mishra came after him, roaring in fury. Sri Mishra said, You shall see today. Act in this mischievous manner, will you? Although I am cultured and knowledgeable, you think I am a great fool? Sri Mishra continued, In whose house can you find as big a thief as this? With rising indignation, he chased after Nimai. The people in the house caught hold of Sri Mishra to dissuade him, but the angry father insisted, Leave me. Today I shall beat him. They tried to reason with him. Dear Mishra, you are known to be liberal. What superior intelligence will you display by beating him? His sense of discrimination between good and bad is still undeveloped due to his tender age, but only a very foolish person would beat such a small child. By nature, children are restless. It is untrue that one can teach them by beating them. The pilgrim hurriedly rushed to the scene and caught hold of Sri Mishra's hand. Respected sir, please hear me. The young boy is not at fault. Whatever is destined to occur on a certain day must happen. I am not destined to have Lord Krishna's rice offerings today. This is the confidential truth of this matter. Sri Jagannath Mishra hung his head in dejection, and because of his perturbed mind, he could not look at anyone. At that moment, Vishwarup, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the abode of spiritual effulgence, arrived upon the scene. His entire form was so charming that no beauty in all the 14 worlds could match it. He stood there, an embodiment of all spiritual potencies, a Brahmin's thread across his shoulders. He appeared as the identical expansion of Lord Nityananda himself. Vishwarup was always engaged in explaining the prime essence of all scriptures, devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Enchanted by his exquisite form, the pilgrim Brahmin stared at him with a gaping mouth. Who is the father of this extraordinary personality? Asked the Brahmin. He is the son of Sri Mishra, came the reply. The Brahmin embraced Vishwarup in extreme joy, saying, Virtuous are the parents of such a son. Sri Vishwarup sat down after offering obeisance to the Brahmin and began speaking nectarine words which flowed like a stream. The day turned auspicious, and our house was blessed with great fortune when you came as a guest, said Vishwarup. You are constant and happy within yourself. You travel everywhere simply to sanctify the earth. It is our immense fortune that we have a guest like your good self, but at the same time I feel very unfortunate that you have had to go without eating. If a guest in a house must fast, then that house will inevitably fall victim to aspersions and inauspiciousness. I feel immense pleasure upon seeing you, but it but it pains me greatly to hear about all that has occurred here. The Brahmin said, please do not feel sorry. I shall eat some fruits and vegetables. I am a forest dweller. I cannot get rice or cooked food in the forest, so I live mostly on fruits, roots, and vegetables. I seldom eat rice, only if it comes my way without endeavor. I feel I have eaten 1,000,000 times over simply from the pleasure of seeing you. Please go and bring whatever you have in the house, fruits, vegetables, offerings, and I will eat them now. And extremely depressed, Sri Jagannath Mishra simply sat holding his head between his hands, not replying to anyone. Sri Vishwarup said, Sir, you are a magnanimous ocean of mercy, yet I feel hesitant to ask you something. Saintly persons by nature feel distressed at others' suffering and are always ready to expand others' feelings of joy. With a little endeavor, you can cook a nice offering for Lord Krishna. This will dispel all the miseries of my family today, and I will feel maximum pleasure and happiness. The Brahmin said, I already cooked twice, yet Lord Krishna did not allow me to eat. So I can understand I am destined not to eat today. This is Lord Krishna's desire, so why should I make such an endeavor? One may have unlimited foodstuff in the house, but one may eat only if Lord Krishna allows. One may endlessly try for something, but if Lord Krishna does not desire it, one will be unsuccessful. It is now past 1:30 in the night, going on 2 o'clock. It is inappropriate to start cooking this late. Therefore, please do not make any further arrangements for cooking. I shall simply eat some fruits and vegetables. Sri Vishwarup replied, There's nothing wrong with the time. Everyone will be pleased if you cook. Sri Vishwarup then caught hold of the Brahmin's feet, and everyone in the house entreated him to cook again. The Brahmin was charmed by Sri Vishwarup, and he agreed to cook. Everyone uttered Sri Hari's name in joy, and yet again cleansed the place for cooking. They cleansed quickly, and meanwhile, the necessary ingredients for cooking were brought. The respected Brahmin then proceeded to cook, and everyone kept the child at a secure distance. Sri Mishra posted himself at the doorway of Nimai's room, tied the doors to the room from the outside so that he cannot escape, suggested someone. Good, agreed Sri Mishra. This is a good plan. Tie the doors from the outside, and we will remain out here. The ladies inside Nimai's room said, Don't worry, Nimai is fast asleep. There is nothing more he can do. The child was kept away. In this manner, in a short while, the Brahmin finished cooking. That pious Brahmin then prepared an offering plate filled with things he had cooked, and he sat down to offer everything to Lord Krishna through his meditation. Nimai, the son of Sachi Mata, knew everything because he is the super soul within everyone's heart. He desired to appear before the Brahmin and reveal himself. By the Supreme Lord's will, Nimai enchanted everyone, and they slept deeply. Sri Sachinandan appeared in the place where the Brahmin was offering his rice to the Lord. When the Brahmin saw the young boy Nimai, he raised an alarm, but no one heard him. They were all in deep sleep. Nimai, the Supreme Lord, said, O Brahmin, you are known to be a magnanimous soul. You called for me, so I came. Why should I be blamed for this? You chanted mantras to invoke me. You beckoned me. Therefore I came to you. How could I resist? You incessantly meditate on me, so I decided to appear before you. At that moment, the Brahmin saw a wonderful sight. The Supreme Lord stood before him in his 8-handed form, holding in 4 of his hands the 4 symbols, conch, shell, disc, mace, and lotus. With 2 hands he held and ate butter, and with the last 2 hands he played the flute. The Brahmin saw the Lord's entire form decorated with gem-studded ornaments. His breast was marked with Lakshmi Devi's sign of Srivatsa, and the priceless Kaustuba jewel hung brilliantly from a gem-studded necklace. His head was decorated with fresh forest flowers that circled his peacock feather. His rosy red lips, like the rising sun, set off his softly glowing moon-like face. His pink lotus petal eyes smiled sweetly as his knee-length Vaijayanti flower garland and his exquisite sharp-shaped earrings swayed delicately. His feet were like blossoming lotus flowers decorated with gently tingling gem-studded ankle bells. The luster from his delicate pearl-like nails dissipated the darkness. The Brahmin saw the surroundings transformed into Vrindaban Dham. The wonderful Kadamba trees became clamorous with the chirping of birds. Cowherd boys and girls roamed about on their own, and everything was exactly as he had seen it in his meditation. Overcome with ecstasy at Singh's extraordinary display of opulence, the pious Brahmin fell unconscious. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Gaurasundar, who is an ocean of mercy, placed his transcendental hand on the Brahmin's body. He regained consciousness by the Lord's touch, but the Brahmin was still speechless and inert with overwhelming joy. Repeatedly, he fell swooning to the ground, sometimes getting up and sometimes falling. He was moved by great upsurges of spiritual emotion. Overcome by shivering, perspiration, and horripilation, he was unable to remain patient. Tears flowed as freely as the mother Ganga. I think horripilation was standing of the hairs. The Brahmin caught hold of the Lord's lotus feet and cried loudly for some time. Acknowledging the Brahmin's devotion, the Supreme Lord Sri Gaurasundar spoke a few words with his enchanting smile. The Lord said, "O learned Brahmin, please listen. In many past lives you were my servitor. You have always meditated upon me, therefore I have come to show myself to you. In my previous incarnation I appeared to you in the house of Maharaj Nanda in this very form, but you have forgotten. In my previous incarnation, Krishna, I appeared in Gokuladam, and in that lifetime you were making pilgrimages to holy sites with sincere spiritual fervor. By divine arrangement, you came as a guest to Nanda Maharaj's house and offered me your foodstuffs. In that encounter, we also exchanged affection, just as we are doing now. I ate your offerings then as I have done again tonight. You are my servant birth after birth, therefore I have appeared before you. No one other than my servants can see me as I am. I am entrusting these confidential topics to you. Do not reveal them to anyone. Do not reveal them to anybody. As long as my present incarnation remains upon this earth, if you reveal my identity, I shall immediately finish your body. I have made my appearances where the congregational chanting of Lord Krishna's holy name has already begun, and I will initiate the propagation of that chanting throughout the world. I will freely distribute to every house the process of loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord, which is so fervently desired even by Lord Brahma and other elevated personalities. Remain with us for some time to come, and you will see many pastimes, but you are strictly forbidden to describe these esoteric matters to anyone. After pacifying and showing his mercy upon the Brahmin, the Supreme Lord Gaurasundar returned to his room. He lay down like a child in his previous sleeping posture. No one had been aware of anything because of the deep slumber caused by the Lord's mystic potency. The pious Brahmin was filled with great exhilaration after seeing the extraordinary manifestation of the Lord. He smeared the transcendental rice over his entire body and then ate it while crying incessantly in ecstasy. He danced, sang, laughed, and made loud roaring sounds while continuously shouting, "All glories to Lord Baal Gopal." The Brahmin's loud roars awakened the resonance of the house, so he quickly restrained himself from further outbursts of spiritual emotions and cleansed his body. The Brahmin ate without worry, and this immensely pleased everyone. The Brahmin considered telling everyone what he saw. Let them know that the Supreme Lord is amongst them. That way they can all be liberated, he thought. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was desired and offered prayers by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, has now appeared in the family of a Brahmin. However, the Brahmin remembered the Lord's instructions not to reveal anything to anybody. Afraid to disobey the Lord, he did not speak to anyone. The Brahmin now knew the Lord's real identity, but the household residents were unaware that the Brahmin had this extraordinary knowledge. Happily, the Brahmin took up residence near the Lord. He begged alms from many different places, but each day he returned to see the Supreme Lord. Such wonderful pastimes of the Lord are revealed in the Vedic literatures. If one hears these topics, one receives the complete shelter of Lord Sri Krishna. The Adi-khanda is full of nectarine topics. It describes how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, performed playful pastimes, acting as though he were a mere child. The Supreme Lord, Sri Gaurasundar, is the great jewel of the 14 worlds and the Supreme Lord of the Vaikuntha planets that lie beyond this material world. He is Lord Narayan, the husband of Lakshmi Devi. He is Lord Ramachandra, the husband of Sita Devi. In Treta Yuga, Gaurasundar appeared as Lord Rama with his younger brother, Sri Lakshman, Lord Nityananda. He performed various extraordinary pastimes and killed the great demon, King Ravana. In Dwarka Yuga, he appeared as Lord Krishna with Shankarshan Balaram, performing many wonderful pastimes. The two lords alleviated the weight of sin in the world. Throughout the Vedas, the Supreme Personality, throughout the Vedas, the two Supreme Personalities, Lord Mukunda Krishna and Lord Anantasesh Balaram, are glorified. Be without doubt that these two Supreme Personalities have now appeared as Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. I, Vrindaban Das, offer this humble song at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Sri Nityananda Chandra Prabhu, who are my life, who are my very life and soul. Okay. So now we'll sing Hari Haraya. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Charavaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghuna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Rasa Raghuna H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jai Te Vignana Shabhishta Puran H.I. Gosai Jarmui Jaradas Kasaba Padarenu Mora Panchagras Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Janame Janame More Abhilash. Echai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas. Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindaban. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudan. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Goranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Marga Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Ragana Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dash Ragana Shadgo Swami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premsigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vishvavarena Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nanda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Navadip Dham ki jai, Shri Ram Mayapur ki jai, Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Kaladvip ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai, Soquel Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Sevashram ki jai, Ganga Devi ki jai, Tulasi Maharani ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Vrindaban Dham ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Sham Kuna Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo Ki Jai Yamuna Jo Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Hare Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai all the assembled devotees Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hare Hare Bol.